Welcome to Truth in the Trenches. This is where real talk meets real basketball. We break down the game, the grind, and the grimy truth behind the scenes. If you're tired of the fluff and ready for the facts, you're in the right place. No clickbait, no filters, just basketball, business, and bold takes. Let's get in the trenches. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Cece back with another video. We have our this is our second episode of our new podcast, Truth in the Trenches, under the Let's Talk USC Women's Basketball podcast and YouTube channel. I have Kameo, and you guys are going to enjoy our new podcast because we're discussing Truth in the Trenches. What's up, Cam?
Hey, what's happening, CC? Happy to be back, man. I'm really happy to be back on. I'm excited to just, share what I know and what I feel and my passion. And hopefully it resonates with some people and some people learn some things. And there'll be some people like, the heck with that guy. But I think we'll have a lot more that's not the heck with that guy. So it's good.
Yeah, I think this is going to draw a lot of interest because we're talking about some truthful stuff. That's why it's called Truth in the Trenches and stuff that you won't see people talk about. So I hope y'all enjoy it. This is episode 2, and we're going to get into it right now. So I saw that you put on Instagram your story that the Terrific 25 came out regarding the 2028 rankings. And I got to thinking, Cameo, that, I'm not so on board. I like the high school rankings. Now, Jazzy Davidson's definitely number one. But I think as you go beyond 50, like, I don't agree that some of these girls are top 50, top 100. I think that there's some players out there that go under the radar that would, frankly, kick some of these girls in the behind. And what's your take on that?
Uh, I'm not a big rankings guy myself. I've never done them. I see the value in doing them. So let me be clear. Um, for people who say rankings don't matter, they matter. It's just what do they matter for,
Yeah.
right? What do they matter for? The college coaches love the rankings. The networks love the rankings, right? Because it's promo for them. They get to put some stuff out. And I got the number 3 versus number 7. I get it. Having ranked classes, college coaches get incentives for having ranked classes, right?
Yeah.
In the NIL space that we have now, we're in that NIL era. I get the value of I'm ranked so high. So now companies want me to be involved because I probably got a good following. They can see I'm probably going places, you know what I mean? So the number 3 ranked player signs with this shoe. So I get all of that. So when I say it matters, there's some truth for y'all. That's where it all matters, right? In terms of scholarships and who's really the best, I think a lot of it is a crock of shit. If I'm being honest, I'm sorry, y'all. If I'm being honest, I'm in gyms
Yeah.
a lot,
Yep.
and yes, rankings are subjective, but there shouldn't be. I see movement in places that I don't think there should be movement. If there's a player, say on the EYBL circuit, and she's ranked 24th before the season starts in her class. And now she's top 5 in assists, top 5 in shooting, top 5 in efficiency. Team is undefeated. She's How would that player drop?
Let me ask you something. Let me throw something else at you. You have that same player that's top 5 in assists, top 5 in steals, top 5 in rebounds,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't shoot a left-handed layup.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they ranked number 25?
Production,
So
production.
you don't think that matters though? You don't think that a player coming into college that is ranked in the top 10, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a left hand, they can't play defense, they can't set a screen. You
Like to me,
don't
they should be able to have all those basics to me, right? We are still talking. I have such a high standard, so y'all excuse me, but they should have a solid fundamental base. Yes, I am agreeing. I think at the high school level, what you can have is based on size and athleticism and who they're around. They can be really productive at this level because all teams don't even have more than two players who are really legit, right? So you can be extremely productive, and sometimes people can just go off production,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes, and this is where I hate rankings to you guys because are you ranking who they are? Are you ranking their impact today? Are you ranking where you're projecting them to be? Are you ranking them that, man, I think Jackie Davis is going to be a WNBA player, in 5 years, and she should be at the top of the class. And because there's no consistency with that, even when you ask the people who are doing the rankings, no one can really tell you, oh, yeah, I'm basing it off production. I mean, well, I'm basing it off projections, potential. And I think that's where, for me, I'm just not a big rankings guy because I can't get nothing definitive. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm agreeing to your point that you should have a solid base of fundamentals and certain things that you should be able to do. Absolutely. Like, you shouldn't be a top five ranked post player and you can't turn over both shoulders,
Yeah.
right? You can't just sprint down the floor, rim run, turn, lock in with your hips, show a good base, and actually just catch the ball.
Yeah.
Like, seeing better hands on a snake. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Catch the basketball. Like, so I agree that you should be able to do some of the basic things for sure.
I have another question for you then. Food for thought. What if you do have that player that can do all those things, right? But they can't play for an elite AAU team, or they can't play for one of the elite high school basketball teams because their family doesn't have the funds. They're not, they're in the country somewhere
Mhm.
where they're not being noticed, and that player should definitely be ranked, but they can't. So how do you know what I mean? Instead, you have another player that plays for an elite AAU team in a well-known high school that's ranked over this player that really should be getting some attention but can't because of their family situation or whatever it may be.
Right. Then I think it's tough. I think it's tough because one, you're able to see, the other one maybe you don't see. Uh, Um, and I don't mean to project and sound pompous, but I like going into those gyms to
Mm-hmm.
find the spice gyms in the gym. I want to go find, right? I want to go search. I want to go and find the very player that you're talking about.
Because they're out there.
Right? Oh, for sure. I see them all the time. I'm gonna find them.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that people get caught up in the circuits.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're ranking the people in the circuits per se.
Yeah, exactly. My
Uh,
point.
there's a whole world outside of the circuits. Yeah, as I like to say, there's way more players outside the circus than there are inside. And I'll tell you guys what I mean by that. If you think about it, you figure you got the Adidas circuit, Under Armour circuit, EYBL, and now you have Select Events Power 24, right? Those are the four like major ones, right? You can't tell me that all the best players are coming from those circuits, right? And maybe people can afford it. The problem is, how do people go and see those players, right? And not just how do you get to go see them, then you gotta, man, I can see them and they can hoop, but now I gotta see them play these other players that I'm talking about too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's twofold, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
can you hoop? How good are you? And then when will I ever see you play these people to get a good comparison? I think it's like that for some people, and it'll never be perfect, but that's the challenge. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That's the challenge. It's one of the reasons I do my Fresh Faces event. I'm trying to get fresh faces. I want new people, right? I want to go find them, put them on the platform, and then everybody say, "Oh, okay."
I like that plug, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, oh shameless plug for sure. But it's the reason for that,
Yeah.
it's, create a platform. And I'm sure other people have their platforms, whether they're as good or bad, whatever, but we need more of those.
Mm-hmm.
We need more of those opportunities from people that have influence and respect to give these other people an opportunity. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think that's extremely important. Like there was I was at, I'm not going to say the event, but I was at a lower level event some years back. And I'm walking past the courts because I'm co-directing the event. See,
Hmm.
I'm going back, and we have 96 courts. It's convention center in Las Vegas.
Oof.
It's a boys event, girls event. It's everywhere. It's going from like eight and under up to.
Wait, what's it called? Because I know that when I coached AAU, we were at some, is it the Magic? What is some, there's
Yeah,
some
yes,
big event.
you're talking the same thing. It was a
Yeah.
gem on the event. You're talking the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
right, so we're there, and I'm walking, and I stop, and I see I'm looking at the back of somebody, and they just weaving through the press, score, weaving through. I'm like, wow, this, let me. I'm on primarily on the girl side, obviously.
Yeah.
That's where I do business. That's my expertise. But I'm captivated because this. Well, when they ran back down, I'm like, it's a girl. This is a seventh grade game, right? I want to be clear.
Playing with the boys?
Seventh the boys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, that kid's got the goods, right? So I'm gonna stay there because
Yeah.
Kameo wants to know who the kid is. Comes off the court, and Buck Buchanan, I'll tell you who that is in a minute. He comes over and he's like, "Oh, Cam, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh man," because he coaches boys and girls. Well,
Uh-huh.
boys are the longest. Now he does girls. I'm like, "Bro, who's the girl?" Her name was Juliana Walker. Ended up going to Syracuse.
Yeah.
He's like, "Cam, man, y'all got to say something about baby girl, man. I mean, she is
Mhm.
hooping." And he goes, "Man, ain't nobody saying nothing about her, Cam. You gotta." And I said, "Well, Buck, at some point, the people on this side have to see her. They would never see her. And then if they see her, they gotta see her playing against the girls because there's girl writers, girls media, right? So how
Yeah.
do they ever see her?" And at that point, he decided to go all in on the girls, believe it or not. So for
Yeah.
those who don't know, Buck Buchanan is the director of the Northwest Greyhounds.
Okay.
Northwest Greyhounds currently have the number four ranked 2026 Olivia Edwards.
Yeah.
See, that's that director.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I say that to say I would have never seen her. She
Yeah.
wasn't probably down the road when she went to high school or whatever, but she was complaining about not being ranked and people not knowing her and getting invited to stuff. Well,
Yeah.
people, but she played strictly on boys team against boys and on boys team, and she was
Yeah.
good. Had this little cock shot. Y'all can Google her, Juliana Walker. Y'all, she went to Syracuse. I think she was class of 2021. But my point in sharing that with you guys is I would have never seen her. You
Yeah.
no circuit, no nothing, and she was playing.
It's my point, right? I mean, you have so many players that go unranked and unseen for whatever reason that it's tough, and and it goes to just like in California too. In California, you have what, seven different sections of CIF from, big to small. So I mean, but you have some of these players that might play at a smaller school that are phenomenal, but they
Absolutely.
play at a smaller school because of where they live, or their parents believe that education is first, so they're not putting them in this high school just to play basketball.
Right.
And so you have all these different divisions in CIF, and
Mhm.
then you have city section as well. I mean, California is so big, it's a breathing ground for talent. And a lot of talent can get unmissed because of the ranking system. All the coaches are looking at these ranking players and all the high circuits. You know what I mean?
Right. I totally agree with that. And that's why I say I'm gonna put a call to action to even more people who are in the scouting, evaluating business because you can really make a name for yourself carving out that lane of going to go be the Barry Gordy of basketball.
Hmm.
Go find little Mike before he's Mike. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like go do that, and it's so rewarding. You know
because
what I mean?
they're out there.
They're out there for sure. They are out there, and so I think that one in the interest of time and even money in terms of going because it's expensive to go to different places. I mean, I've gotten around. I'm lucky. I have a job, that allows me to get in the gyms on the weekend. But I mean, you're talking gas and a flight and a hotel, depending on trying to go find players. And some people are like, I don't want to do that. I'll just go to the known event, talk about these players. It may be local, it may be easier. You may know there's going to be talent because I've been some places where I spend money, CC, and there was no talent.
Yeah, yeah, of
Right.
course.
And
Yeah,
that's part of the
goes both ways.
scavenger hunt, right? That's
Hmm.
part of the scavenger hunt. So I can see why people don't do it and why they focus, but we are missing out on some undervalued, underexposed players.
I think a lot of that too has to do with not so much the AAU coaches in the non-elite circuits, but a lot of that has to do, in my opinion, with the high school coaches, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because when I was in high school, I'm just gonna tell you my opinion, how what I saw when my son was playing. When I went to high school, my coach, I mean, he was everything to me because my dad worked a lot. My dad raised me, and he worked a lot, so he couldn't be there. So my coach was like my secondary parent,
Mm.
and in order for me to get looked at in college, because I played for South Hills, smaller school, and there was AAU, but there really wasn't AAU like it is now.
Yeah.
He told me to come to his class one day and sit down and write letters to colleges. We would work on it together, think colleges that he thought I would fit at, and we would write the letters together and we would send those out. We would mark it myself. And then whatever responses we would get back, he would physically drive me to those schools until I made a decision where I was going to go. And I just think in today's atmosphere, high school coaches tend to believe that the kids are playing AAU and they leave that up to the AAU coaches because my son, when he played high school basketball, my son's high school coach was totally hands off in contacting any coaches to let coaches know, hey, I have this player I think you might want to come see, and so on and so forth. So I think that we need to get back to where we were back in the day, where kids have to learn how to market themselves and go get it too, especially if they're from a smaller school or they just don't have the funds to play in the circuit
Mhm.
and they're not well known. I think it's important that if they really want to play ball in college, that they get on the NCAA portal, they register themselves, and that they write letters to colleges to show interest and follow up if they don't hear back, because that you know they have to make the coaches want to come see them too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a little easier now, but I do agree. I do see a lot of hands off, high school coaches. The ones who obviously are hands on, or some of them are high school coaches and AAU.
AA coach, yeah.
So obviously, that marriage works, and they're used to doing it that way. Um, but the better high school coaches, they do invest beyond the scholastic practices and games to make sure that the players are, because you should be preparing them for off the court, period. So
Hmm.
whatever that dream, if they have a dream to play next level, I assess their talent, identify where you think they can matriculate to initially out of high school. Once you identify that, then you go ahead and put together your clips. I have a process,
Yeah,
right?
now it's clips. Back in the day it was letters for me, but now it's clips. But go ahead.
My process is what I call a 1-4-1 process, right? Once you get to there, so you've identified the talent, assess where you think they can matriculate to, targeted some schools, right? What I'm going to send those schools is a 1 minute clip. They may like the 1 minute clip, right? They like the 1 minute clip. I'm gonna send them what I call a sizzle. That's a 2 to 4 minute clip, more stuff. And we could talk about what goes into those clips and whatever down the road. And then finally, if they like both of those, they're gonna ask for a whole game.
Hmm.
Hence the 1-4-1, principle, right? The 1 minute, 4 minute, one whole game. If they're asking for a whole game, they like you,
Or
right?
they might come out and see you if they're local.
If they're local, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, they should see you if you're local. And I can off air because we'll come up with another topic for that, so I can share with you how that goes. Why some colleges don't go out as much, um, and we'll get, but they have limited days, so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so you guys know that's the value of AAU. By the way, I can
Hmm.
spend one day at one event and see hundreds of kids versus spending one of my days at Los Angeles High School for us,
Hmm.
right? So they have limited days, and the recruiting calendar reduced those days down to, if I'm not mistaken, they're down to 112 days. now that they can go out. But that means that's 112 for the staff collectively,
Yeah.
right? For everybody. So if you're on staff, CC, and I'm on staff, and two other people, and we all go out on one day, that's 4 days,
Yeah.
right? So that's how
That's
quick,
crazy.
right? So now you can say, man, do I really want to go see Cameo that I really
Yeah.
don't know about over at LA High? Okay, well, well, who are they playing? Maybe it's somebody they're playing. I also want to see them. They're trying to get the most bang for their buck or their time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so I just want you guys, there's some nuance to it, which is all the more reason why you want a high school coach that's adept at the rules, has great relationships, right?
Yeah.
Is respected
Yeah.
and is proactive for their student athletes.
Got to be proactive. Now, I want to segue into this, keeping on our time slot here.
Uh,
So we talked about rankings. Now, let's say a player's ranked 25 in the nation or whatever, and they train. They're training during the off season and they're doing their thing. But you go to one of their training sessions, Cameo, just to watch them train. And you notice that they're just training on the okey doke. They're not training on their weaknesses. They're training for show, not for the embetterment of themselves or their team. Do you see a lot of that?
Absolutely. And I cannot stand it. It grinds my gears, y'all. Like, because I just believe I can almost make it like I think today, I think that people can make tougher shots, right, than back in the day.
Yeah,
However, most of the time you shouldn't be taking the tough shots, right?
yeah, yes,
So they're training for that 2020 step back. And it looks great on Instagram. You throw some slow music on there, a nice 80, I mean, some slow motion, a nice little 808 beat. And we're scrolling and we stop and say, wow, okay, like
yeah.
it's for show versus
Why do you think kids don't want to train on their weaknesses? Why do you think they just want to train on what they're already good at? Because that's not really training. You're already good at that. Why aren't you training to expand your game? Why don't you get out your comfort zone?
I don't even think they're training for what they're good at. I think that I see enough. I see enough where, first of all, some of them aren't even training. They're not training,
Keep it
right?
real.
And hey, this truth in trenches, right? So let me keep it 100. To me, there's workouts and there's training. Most of the clips that people are seeing and most of what you walk into a gym and see are workouts. Hey, CC, we in the gym on Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Hey, you want to slide through and get it in? Cool. You show up, whatever's being done that day, you do it. I'm not saying there's not value there. I'm saying that's a workout. There's post players there, there's grown men there, there's little kids there, all y'all doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Worked out. So if it's just training your mind to stay in the game, and yeah, I'm with that, right? Okay, cool. A training is different, right? Think of it like your job. When your job says, hey, you know what? You're not going to do your regular work on Tuesday through Thursday. We have a training,
yeah.
right? What's
Shit
the
we don't like to do.
what's the training on? Oh man, we're gonna learn the new software, we're
Yeah,
gonna learn the new whatever, whatever, right? And there's a clear-cut outline for you guys who are the data entry clerks or whatever ones to do this training. And at the end of this training, you should end up here. That's real training, right? It is definitive, it is descriptive, it identifies your weaknesses, it gets you reps with your strengths, it enhances your strengths, improves the weaknesses, and there's checks and balances. Hey, and
right.
you should be here, CC. You know
Yeah,
what? Your shot is getting off in 1.5 seconds. We need to get that down to zero point 0.7, you know, and this is the footwork that accompanies that. And we're going to film it. That's what we're going to do here. Then we're going to do this. And so it's planned out. That's a training, right? Very few people are training, right? One, it costs money.
yeah,
And unless you can find four other
yeah,
people with the weaknesses that you have, then that trainer's like, I'm gonna just do this group of 12
yeah,
for an hour and a half. I get it. But it's tough to like a training is a planned out thing for you. See, it's for you, right? It's your training
That's
because,
how you develop, right? That's what you call player development, right? You want to develop your skill set.
and
You
it's
have
not
to
a
train on it.
lot of that. In social media, people want to get the views. They want to. I challenge everybody to go on Instagram, put the hashtag in basketball training, and just watch what you see. It's always going to start with some dribbling. It is. It just is. Um, and somebody's going to be explaining a move in some complicated way, and you're going to sit there like this. Everybody does the move like you're going to get 30 ISO opportunities in a game.
Right.
See, you know how many people get to ISO like that? There's a Hannah, there's a Juju, maybe Tanaya. You
Yeah.
you can't name 10 people of the 3,300 Division One players who are ISOing consistently doing all that. So why are we training for that or working out for that? Because of the views. I want the views. And I
Yeah.
want somebody to say, man, that layup was tough.
Yeah.
You threw the cone, you caught the cone, you put it under your hand, you spun it, you smiled at the camera, and you kissed it off the. That's what they want to say.
So is it more about creating a brand now instead of really learning the game of basketball? And so you can in the future take care of yourself. You're building your brand and like you said, going for views and likes, but you're not developing your character. You're not developing your game to help your team, to help your future status because now everything is media and NIL and brand, right? Do you
Right.
think
I
that?
mean, it's what it, and some people, they don't even love the game like that, Cece.
Yeah.
They don't love the game like that because they will trade in what you're just talking about, the real word to get better for the scholarship. They're like, man, if I can go viral, get my followers up, I could be in the Venice Beach League, the Basketball Beauty League. I can turn this into a brand. I can turn myself into kind of a pseudo celebrity, so to speak. And some people are just fine with that. They
Yeah.
are. They are. I'm not mad that they're fine with that. Just don't masquerade that you want it to be
A basketball player.
like right, a real one with real refs, five
Yeah.
on five scouting reports,
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
nutrition, weights, all those things.
So
If
how many fake trainers do you think are out there?
um,
I
you know,
mean,
you know what?
it's the same because if you're gonna call out or if we're gonna
You know
call
what?
out
You know what?
basketball players, we gotta call out the trainers too, right? Because I believe there's a lot of trainers out there that don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're
And,
making money off these folks.
and you know what? I'm not even mad that they making money, CC, because I think people like being lied to. I do. I do. I do. I think people like them. In fact, I got a graphic that's already scheduled to come up today, and it speaks of slightly to that. But I think people like being lied to. I watch people shoot certain shots and handle the basketball, and I see people on the side like, good, good, and I'm like, that is not good.
Yeah,
That is not helping them. Like they're not developing their weekend. They're not jumping off the ground, right? They're not finishing high. Their footwork is sloppy. Like, let's go. If you want to do the fun circus stuff, you can still do it.
yeah,
Can we knock this out? Can we knock this out? Then if we just want to screw around for 5 minutes, being creative and dance, go ahead and do that. You can still get your content, right? You can still get your content, but
yeah,
but I got the work in because the work is what's sustainable, right? That's what's sustainable. And I have workouts, CC, that I've done the same way for 15 years. And players improve. We have checkpoints to know they improve. I always tell people, you improving is not guesswork. It is tangible,
yeah,
right? Did that field goal percentage increase? Right? Did that release get quicker? Are you getting less turnovers because your footwork is better? Are you getting more rebounds? Are you getting quicker up and down the court? Those are things that's not subjective.
yeah,
We have all this technology, all this data. We can factually say, man, they did lose some LBs. They did get quicker. The handle is sharper. They can go both ways. Oh man, the passing is so much more accurate
yeah,
coming off. Footwork is impeccable off that down screen, right? Because all that matters and it's tangible, right? This is tangible. But I think one, the brand building, two, the social media, three, the money. But also, CC, we're into the leasing space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is why the colleges go into the portal.
Yeah.
Because they figure I really gotta assume I'm gonna have you for this year only.
Yeah. That's
I,
crazy, right?
I gotta assume that. I may get you for a second year or a third year, but I gotta assume that either you're not gonna perform and I'm gonna usher you out, or you are gonna perform and you're like, I can go to wherever, right? You think you can elevate either your branding, either your the platform, the spot, whatever. So I gotta treat it that. Well, how many people are doing development in a year, CC?
Yeah.
Talking exponential growth where you're playing because I need you playing, right? I need you,
Yeah.
right? So think of it like that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm rambling, but
No,
I
but you know what? You said something, and it segues into our next topic. You talk about players being leased on a yearly basis now, and some of these players come in right to college because they think that's the college they want to go to, and then it doesn't go as well as they want, right? And you're saying sometimes players leave on their own, sometimes players usher them. I mean, sometimes coaches usher them out, correct? Well, on that same playing field, what about the players that come to these colleges, right? And their accountability is political. Coach doesn't like me.
oh gosh.
Yeah, coach doesn't like me. The team doesn't like me, or I should be playing in a different position. But it's never them taking true accountability for what they need to fix in their own player development.
But
What do you see? Do you see that a lot, or do you think that happens a lot? Especially with this younger generation. This younger generation to me is, woe is me. I'm the victim. I rarely see. Well, I won't say I rarely see, but I would like to see where players take accountability more and say, hey, where do I need to improve so I can get on the floor more? Instead of saying I should be on the floor more. Coach just doesn't like me.
right. And I, I I just think it's a weak mindset. I do. People can be offended that I feel that way. CC. It's a weak mindset. And here's why it's weak to me. It's weak to me because I'm all about the actionable things that I can look at, and that lets me know how a person thinks about my game. See, the weak mindset says she don't like me versus, you know what? Maybe they don't like the fact that you turn it over at a high rate. Maybe they don't like the fact that you can't handle the ball under pressure and you shrink in the big moments. Maybe they don't like the fact that you don't know the offense, right?
Or
A
maybe it's the fact that you get on the court and you don't listen to anything I'm saying because you want to go out there and do your own thing.
role, right? So, and with that, I'm the coach. I'm supposed to coach you. I'm supposed to tell you, hey, CC, man, you got to do better, else I can't play you. Hey, you know what? I need you to just rim run, play good interior defense, and rebound. And that is great for our team. Well, I don't know why I can't step out and take the three, and shoot it like, well, that's not your strength, right? So
But it
now,
is, coach.
wait,
You just
so
don't want me to shoot it.
right now, coach ain't letting me do me.
Yeah.
Right? Meanwhile, y'all winning. Meanwhile, so clearly the coach has done this a lot longer than you before you thought about basketball. The coach has done it.
Yeah.
Right. They had some successes, some failures, and they've learned what worked. And so the actionable things I want to speak on are the habits, the positives, the negatives. But in this era, CC, we're paying you.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. I'm giving you a scholarship, helping you build your brand on my platform, and I'm paying you money. I'm giving you free pictures, free film, everything. And now because I'm telling you I need you in the post, or you're only going to play 20 minutes or 15 minutes, now I don't like you.
Yeah.
Those actions don't add up to I don't like you. What it adds up to is I think what you have shown me about your game is this. Now that you've shown me this about your game, my job is to take that known thing, and implement it to the team. Some people I get to take a bigger chunk of the known thing and implement it for the best of the team. For you, I may only want to take your shooting. I may only want to take that you're a spark on defense and you come in and you change the tempo. And it's great for our team. Let's not lose the team,
Yeah.
right? And so I do see where I think it's going to get worse and worse. I'm sorry, y'all, it is. It's going to get worse and worse. And you're probably saying, how can that be, Kameo? How can it be worse? Right. Because people aren't looking for a fit anymore. Right?
Man, it's
Yeah, look,
crazy.
if I'm offering you 150,000, but this school is offering you 250,000, I'm sure there's people like, man, you better go take that 250. I can't even say I would tell you not to, but that don't mean it's a fit for you.
Yeah.
Right? I think the people that are able to find a fit are when the offers are comparable, right? I got 5 or 6 offers. The money's comparable, right? So now I get to look at all the nuances, the style of coaching, the style of offense, who I'm going to play with, who I'm not going to play with, right? The conference. Then I can look for a best fit. But a lot of times that money's different. Then people going where the highest bag is, and they're going to try to figure it out there. Well, you may realize that while you're trying to figure out somebody's better, you weren't as prepared as you thought. Um, you overvalued yourself or the coach overvalued you. And then
Yeah.
you come in and you're like, wow, I thought they was a real competitor. Look, everybody says they're a competitor until it's time to compete.
Well, then the coaches will, on the coaches side of it, the coaches can bring you in and pay you 150,000 and expect you to pull that weight of 150,000 and you're not doing it. And now the coach is in a dilemma too because they
The
made a
bad bad.
terrible mistake,
Right,
and it's like,
right, right.
now they got to usher them out because they can't afford to pay them $150,000 for non-production. And then all you want to do is sit here and bitch. I mean, it's both ways. It's like, it's crazy, but yeah, the coaches,
It's easy. What accountability can't just be on the coach,
right.
right?
Absolutely.
The coach is going to have some innate accountability that comes naturally. Dude, we got a win-loss record. You got boosters. You have your AD. You have an institution that is governing how you move, how you operate, and they have expectations, right? You got to be accountable to those expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna be accountable. They don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
They also got to hold you accountable as a player,
Yeah.
right? They got to hold you accountable as a player, and I just think that you got to accept that. That's part of being on a team, CC.
Well,
Right?
I think too that's a part of recruiting, right? Because you got to recruit character. Now, I know you can only know so much, but when you're recruiting, especially nowadays, character has to be a big part of it because you have to understand that player's dynamic, where they come from, their family values. Because when they come in, they got to be able to maintain a certain way that they hold themselves accountable or the way they act, and that's part of character, right? If I'm telling you from coach to player that I'm pulling you out the game because you had 3 turnovers in 30 seconds, you can't cry about that. You gotta take accountability. But I think you have so many players today that are used to the AAU circuit where a lot of it is just running up and down the court. There's not a lot of defense being played. There's no accountability. And then they come into college where now they're held accountable and they're just like sitting in a corner pouting because a coach calls them out
Yeah.
and they don't want to be accountable. They want everything is the coach's fault, the teammates fault because they didn't throw them the ball or whatever the case may be. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm. Like, what is your role? Talk to me, so talk to me about where you feel you can improve, right? And I'm gonna be like, you know what? I didn't even think about that. You do like coming off the left side. Let me put something in for that. But you still got to be productive when I do it, right? You still got to be. And here's the thing: this is my show. I'm
Yeah.
the coach, right? I run the ship. So if I say, listen, when you're in the game, you see, I just want you, hey, be a playmaker and a lockdown defender. Hey, anything you give us offensively is gravy, right? If I tell you that and I give you the keys, I'm expecting you to drive the car to the place that I told you to drive it to, how I told you to drive it. So that way we get there safely. It's not your job to be like, I don't need no GPS. I know what I want to do, right? And now
Yeah.
you're jacking it because your friends are telling you to jack it, your trainer's telling you to jack it, mom is yelling at you. Well, none of those people are the people that are paying you to be here.
Yep.
The institution that gave you a scholarship, right, is allowing for how you live, board, and all of those things in this scholarship. And I just think that there is some authority that is being weakened.
Right.
The authority is being weakened because the culture. can go online and talk about you. They can talk about you on the message boards. And the coaches are at a standard where what they're gonna do, go on the message board and get into a tiff. And now
Yeah.
that screenshot and it's on Instagram. You can't win. So
Yeah. We talked about that in the last
it,
podcast. So
it weakens the authority, and I hate that. For I hate that for the coaches. I really, really, really do. I hate that for the coaches.
yeah, I think the players, when it comes to accountability, I think that's a part of growth. But like I said, I think a big part of it is character, and I think a big part of it is family value, and I think a little of it might be entitlement, right? You
A
came from
lot
a
of
yeah, you came from a high school team where you were all that, you scored, you were the one. Coach didn't hold you accountable because you were the star of the team. So the high school coach didn't hold you accountable. So now you come to college where there is accountability, where you're playing alongside players that are just as good, if not better than you.
mhm,
And some are better than you, especially going to the left. And
mhm.
so coach tells you you need to work on to the left. But but you wanna not take accountability for trying to go to the left or learn how to go to the left. Instead, it's the coach doesn't like me type. I just we can go on and on about accountability, but I think there has to be a direction shift in how when players come into college they understand that there's going to be accountability and it's on the coach to hold you accountable because they are now your parents, so to speak, while
Mhm.
you're in school and they want you to get better in life. And I think there's a just a big miss there with kids today not understanding that they're there to be empowered by their coaches and by their teammates, and they need some tough love sometimes.
You know what? I'm gonna issue a challenge, a truth in the trenches challenge for all the players out there, past, former, future of any place. When you said the coach was hating on you, I need you to definitively come into our comments and tell us definitively why they hating on you. Because I hear it in the streets, and this is what I always come back and say. I'm like, oh man, that's unfortunate. What exactly did coach do? Man, I'm just saying, man, you gotta be there. Well, you was there, so tell me. Like, I mean, it's just see, you don't understand. I'm asking you to help me under, and people can't even tell you definitively
Yeah,
what it is.
coach
Right?
was picking on me.
Right? Okay, well, how did they pick on you? Well, I mean, they said I didn't make my mouth time, but did you make the mouth time? Did you make it? And don't tell me about nobody else. You
Yeah,
know that's one of my things when I coach. See, a parent and a player, if you got an issue with your playing time or how I'm playing you or whatever that is, we can never talk about another player.
yeah,
Yeah, we're talking about you,
yeah,
your habits, what I'm doing. There's some things I can improve. You can improve. That is what we're talking about. I mean, well, Susie, I'm not. Susie's not in this room. We're not talking about Susie
yeah.
because I may be able to motivate Susie a different way. It's like
Right,
it's like having kids.
right.
Man, my daughter, my oldest daughter, y'all. If I told my oldest daughter, like, Camille, you know what? You really disappointed me. I mean, what, Daddy? I'm just telling you, you really disappointed me. For her, woo, that's like wanting her to do 50 suicides. The world has ended, and I would close my door, and she would have corrective behavior. It worked for her. My son is a little different. Like my son, I got to really get into him
Yeah,
sometimes, right? So it's the same love that I execute differently, right? The standard is the standard. The rules are still the rules, right? Hey, y'all both got to be home, by this time. Hey, homework has to be done by this. Hey, your chores have to be done. Those are all the same. But how I motivate you and get you to do certain things is different for each one of my kids. And
yeah,
it's like that for your players. Like some players, the head coach ain't got to say nothing. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna get assistant coach Cece to go sit with her, and because she likes assistant coach Cece, so I'm gonna have Cece message. I mean, you do whatever you can,
yeah, yeah,
and it works that way for the positive and the negatives.
yeah,
There has to be some self awareness on the player's part. In this era, it lacks a lot of self awareness. There has
yeah.
to be some self awareness that leads to accountability. You can't even get to accountability if you don't have no awareness.
Right,
Like,
right.
I mean, like we humans know when we're not doing our best.
Yeah,
You see, we know it. We know when we're not. I'm like,
yeah,
we're I was kind of catting off. I could have been better on the pod. You
Yeah,
see, I wasn't as good and well rehearsed and researched like I should have. And
yeah,
so that takes some awareness,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
awareness will lead to the accountability. Because if I'm aware, by the time the coach comes to tell me, I know it. Dang, they did come to tell me, all right, like I gotta get it together. But if you lack self-awareness, it's gonna feel like an attack. But the fact that it
yeah.
feels like an attack, feelings aren't fact.
You get defensive, right? You get defensive because you're not set up that way
Right.
to take constructive criticism, right? But you can't get better unless you take constructive criticism.
And who are the other 3 to 4 people in your life that are gonna carry the same message that the coach came down to you with? If you go to tell 4 people exactly what the coach said that you're complaining about, what do you think those 4 people are going to say? Yeah, man, Coach do got you messed up. Man, Coach do be tripping. If all 4 are going to say that and you lack self awareness, then all y'all believe the coach got you messed up. And you
Yep.
again mad at the coach when they take you out. You mad at the coach if they keep you in. Man, I
Yeah.
don't know why coach kept her in. Now she missing 4 shots. She's tired. Coach, take her out.
Yeah. Can't win, right?
Coach
Yeah.
takes her out. Now you mad that they took her out because she was hot. You know, it's like, come
Yeah.
on now. Like
Yeah.
they couldn't win. And I think that's tough.
Yeah. I just think that as we close this off, that players today, they gotta go when they go into these college programs, they gotta learn how to take accountability and not be so hypocritical, of what the coaching staff is trying to do because you made a point. You do have to have that right inner circle that's going to say, "Hey, you know what? You did mess up on the court today. But hey, we're going to leave it. Hey, talk about what you got going on before we get out of here."
You know what? I'm gonna keep saying it, man. We're entering our 19th year of the Miles McGowan Coaches Classic. It's a charity event. We have a whole week of just spreading love in the community. We'll be in Oakland, April 4th through April 10th. The 4th through the 8th is just a bunch of community activities. We do a peace unity walk. We have back to school shopping sprees for 7 kids that we will do. We have free haircuts. We have a free basketball clinic for boys and girls. A couple of campus visits, and then we do all the basketball for the fresh faces featuring the class of 2029. But we have some 2026s through 28s that are really good. Of course, I tell Lindsay about all of those. Um, but it's our biggest project. It's a passion project named after my godson who lost his life at 5 to cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we bring them in, we educate them, empower them, and elevate them, and they perform, and we get that information out to college coaches, and then they're off on their journey, man. So we like to springboard, their journey, and that's what it does. So you guys can find me on Instagram, Mr. Gyms in the Gym. Any other platform, just Gyms in the Gym. We take donations. We still have sponsorship slots, partnership slots. I think it'd be well worth your while if you partner with us and support us.
Okay, that's awesome. And I want to end with this. But we talked about rankings, and I think we can close the loop with saying, hey, rankings matter, but then they don't because there's a lot of hidden gems out there that people are missing that we need to be more aware of. These kids that are, undervalued because of where they play, what they can afford, what they can't afford. So the ranking system is good. It's there for a purpose, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other players out there that should be valued for what they can bring to the game. And then the other thing I want to talk about is players need to understand that being accountable for their own actions is a part of growth and it's a good thing. And it can only make your team and yourself better. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Do you have any closing words?
That's enough, y'all.
All right. Hey, y'all, fight on.
Mhm.